We might as well call this one the Donovan Edwards episode because Donovan Edwards in about 14 minutes gave us a lot of different things to talk about, from ways that he feels like he's getting better, the one thing that he is focused on, to addressing his controversy from a year ago. Let's get into all of it here on this episode of Locked On Wolverines.
You are Locked On Wolverines, your daily podcast on the Michigan Wolverines, part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
Happy Friday. We are back and doing it. Locked On Wolverines podcast on the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every day. I am your man on the ground, Isaiah Hole, publisher of Wolverines Wire. So I was on the ground this morning, bright and early. So the plan was to do a podcast, go to the press conference. Well, Michigan had the earliest press conference I can recall them ever having in Ann Arbor. Not like at a bowl game, it might be a little different, right? Because they kind of set the schedule. A different scenario when they're like, yeah, 10 a.m. Let's do it. And I think Michigan had practiced before then, which is wild. I'm not normally like, that's like kind of my wake up time. I don't usually fall asleep, last night included, until like 3 a.m. And I normally wake up around 9, sometimes 10. So we're still a bit hazy, a bit loopy, like we've been for some last couple episodes. Didn't take my magnesium last night because that makes me wake up even more tired. And I was greeted with a gem of a press conference. Basically all four guys we met with: Donovan Edwards, Roman Wilson, Trevor Keegan, and Braden McGregor. Lots to unpack. So let's start off with the most obvious thing, and I'll go ahead and just insert it right here so that you can hear what he has to say. And we'll talk about it in segment 2. What he had to say. We'll add the one thing he needs to do in order to get to that unstoppable phase. And a little bit about maybe his reaction to Blake Corum, and then we'll also talk about Roman Wilson and Trevor Keegan. Both had some interesting things to say as well. So we'll get to those. But first, here's Donovan Edwards in his own words, just unabated. Press conference is over, and he stops and says, "Listen, I got something to say." Little did we know he was going to go on for 4 minutes about the Twitter controversy. About the antisemitic tweet that he had retweeted. So here's what Donovan Edwards had to say.
Your time, Donovan, we really appreciate it.
I got one more thing to mention too about the tweet as well. I feel like that was a great thing for me because it was a learning and building experience for me. The way I look at that is I don't have any type of hatred. I don't disgrace anybody. I have love for everybody, all people. I don't care who you are, black, white, Puerto Rican, Dominican Republic. I don't care, because why? Everybody is God's children in the eyes of God. There's nothing in the Bible that says that only one specific race can make it into the heaven gates. Everybody can. So the thing that I learned from that is I can't allow like a caption define who I am, because if I can explain for myself that in that context that I feel like nobody listened to what Kanye West said. And what Kanye West said is that people who are the higher ups, we all know who higher ups are. It's like Coach Harbaugh to us. He's the higher up, and what he says goes. And in that context is that it's like for me, I'm a black male, and I look at that very specifically, and it's like black people are getting diminished as who, like, we're looking at like celebrities, and like they're telling us, this and that, and we're listening to the rap lyrics. So if like we're depriving ourselves, and we all know this, if black people are depriving ourselves of, like race, calling girls out their names, talking about robbing, stealing, killing, that's not good, So that's why, I retweeted what I retweeted. It's not about I hate Jewish people. I don't hate Jewish people. Black people are Jewish too. Just like how there's many other races that are other races. You know, I don't hate Buddhist people. I don't hate Muslim people. I love all races because all religions are right. You know, all religions have the same thing, and that is to love God and to treat your neighbor accordingly and to love each other the way that you love yourself. So I've learned a lot from that, you know, and that's why, you know, I don't deprive myself of who I am because I know who I am. If you ask people in this building who really know me, they will say I'm a great person, and I believe that myself too. Just like how Isaiah has this Jesus is King hat on. Yeshua is King to me. You know what I'm saying? So I believe that with my whole heart. I apologize to anybody who I may have hurt, and I understand my actions, and you know, like I'm gonna grow from it. You know, it's taught me a lot. So thankful that happened as well.
Don, what did you gain from the experience of the Holocaust?
You was waiting to ask that, weren't you? Until I said that, huh? What I gained from it, truth be told, is that, you know, I've hurt people, and I can live with that, you know, because now I can build people up. You know, I may have made people's trust not be there for me, but I don't care, you know, because people don't know who I really am. They don't know the context of what I saw and what I retweeted, the real video, not what a person said about it, make it happen, you know. And I'm not gonna lie, like I'm not gonna say what I gotta say because it's all right, but I learned a lot, to be honest with you. And I know that if I continue to be who I am, you know, I could gain the love back, I could gain the people's trust back, you know, like, and I'm never going to change who I am for anybody, you know. Honestly, like, my goal is to always do right by people. My goal is to go above and beyond for people and to, you know, like, help homeless people out. One of my main goals in life is to get into real estate so I can help out people who have minimum incomes. You know, I want to buy like a townhouse and like make the rent like $250, a nice apartment. You know, that's when I get my money up though. I have to take care of myself too.
Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the desire for your questions.
All right, I'm going to withhold reaction for a moment because I feel like that's warranted to that we give it the ample time instead of me speeding through a 1 to 2 minute reaction and moving on. So we'll devote the next segment and to Donovan Edwards entirely, what he said, getting into some other parts, and we will do that here in just a moment. Before we do, listen, if you want to get into the comfort kingdom, then guess what? I got just the thing for you. Birddogs is revolutionizing comfort when it comes to your pants and shorts. And whether you're looking for something dressy, you're looking for something for the gym, you're going out to the lake this summer, and summer's winding down, but you still need some shorts. Got some hot days ahead of us. Anything in between, Birddogs has got you absolutely covered. You look and you will feel better wearing Birddogs, and they allow you the versatility of going from the beach to the golf course, right to dinner, your next meeting, whatever. Birddog shorts do the exact same thing that Lululemon, you know, Jim Harbaugh wears Lululemon. We need to switch him over to Birddogs. But guess what? Because they fit a heck of a lot better. So go to birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege to enter the promo code LockedOnCollege, and you'll get a free Yeti style tumbler with your order. That's birddogs.com/LockedOnCollege, or you can use the promo code LockedOnCollege for a free Yeti style tumbler. You won't want to take your Birddogs off. We promise you. All right, so let's get into this Donovan Edwards reaction here. So obviously I was mentioned there. So for anyone asking, Isaiah, are you really on the ground? Are you really there? Are you really doing stuff? And the reason why I call myself the man on the ground is because obviously for actual games, I'm not up in the press box. I'm down on the sidelines. And I try to be everywhere the team is whenever media is allowed. And sometimes that works out. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes I'm at things that other media aren't, like the golf outing last week. I mean, Angelique was there, but she was the only one. Well, no, Brad Galley was there as well. Wolverines shoot. I mean, you heard from Scott, the VP of Wolverine Boot Company. I was not there in a media capacity, but I was the only media there, so that warrants that. So obviously I was there. Didn't ask him the question because there was no question asked. He just brought it up all on his lonesome. The first thing I'm going to do is corrective, and I hope to get an opportunity to say this to Donovan because it's something that, and I'm sorry if it angers people who don't want to hear about Jesus. I mean, I wear the Jesus King hat almost every show. I wear a Yahweh hat now that I got that too. I'm wearing some kind of clothing professing my faith. The only thing I want to correct is if you are, this is truth, but if you're a Christian, all religions are not right. That's, I'm going to speak my faith in that. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No man comes to the Father except through me, Jesus says. So I do want to correct that part. But otherwise, I thought it was it was interesting because I didn't necessarily feel that it was completely trite. I mean, that said, like, I understand. Okay, so I understand. I went back and reread the Kanye tweet. I'll basically just say I don't really get it in general. I don't get what. I don't even understand the purpose of it. That said, it's certainly not something that you should ascribe to in any way, shape, or form from what I could read. When I say I don't get it, I mean, it doesn't make sense in my brain. So it's not like I'm waving it off. It doesn't. I read it and I'm like, this just feel, I mean, anti-Semitic is what everyone says. So I guess I'll apply that label as well. I just sit there and read it with my jaw open. And that's the kind of the same thing that I think that probably most people did when Donovan retweeted it, is sit there with their jaws open. And I'm not a quick to offense, like you can say the worst things to me, especially about my race. If you don't know, if you're watching this or listening, you might not know that I am half black. I mean, I'm a bunch of things. My ancestry DNA is like absolutely crazy. So, that said, repentance is not just meaning I feel sorry. Repentance means you're turning away from. I do feel that he is repentant, but, and if that, like, he comes out and says, like, I feel like I learned a lot. And I do feel like that he has, and there, he feels sorry that he hurt people. He wants to build people up. I don't know. Listen, I know Donovan. I like Donovan a lot. I still feel like there's a level of humility that he needs to reach there. That's just my personal opinion. And it's not, again, it's not, Donovan sees this, and now I plan on having a conversation with him at the first possible moment. I hope that the Bible teaches humility. Jesus teaches humility, having a humble heart. And I think that is something that he hasn't learned quite yet. I think it probably serves him well in his sport, which we'll get to in a moment as well. But that said, I'd like to see it just kind of all around here, because I don't know if you're a Jewish person. And a lot of I saw a lot of the other Jewish people in the media. I saw some say, listen, I appreciated his initial apology back in October of 2022. But I don't know that if there was anyone that was doubting him, if they feel any better necessarily. Maybe they do. I don't know. And I do appreciate that he was out there saying, like, I don't hate anybody. I believe that. I don't believe he hates anybody. And we all have moments where maybe we do or say something that, you end up being, my best friend, Doug, always is telling me that I often am the closest person to Larry David he knows, not because he thinks I'm hilarious and I'm destined to create a couple of really popular shows, but because despite my well-meaning intentions for a lot of different things, I find myself in precarious situations. And I kind of feel like that's where Donovan is right now. So it's just, I will take it a step further. It's a hard world to navigate right now, right? Like, I feel uncomfortable even talking about this. I realize as we're kind of in it, right? And, you know, it's like you sit there and with the world and the culture that we have, it's like, you know, where's the misstep? You know, like what missteps am I taking? And that's not necessarily a good place to be either. Like, we had a whole episode after the Shemi Schembechler controversy about the necessity of grace. So, I mean, that said, I mean, I obviously, you know, I've associated a lot with Donovan. I still like Donovan a lot. I hold literally nothing against him. But trying to look at it from the perspective of, did he dial down the controversy that was back in October, bringing it back up? I think, you know, I understand he wanted to speak for himself. This is aside from the college football playoff where he wouldn't discuss it, I don't believe. I never really could get around him because he was never featured. He was just, to my recollection, he was just like available when everyone was made available, and he had a lot of people around him. So I never made it my way over there. So I don't know if like I think this was like his first real time outside of post game Ohio State, post game Big Ten championship, that he's been available and decided to address it. Did get to go to the Holocaust Museum as well. So it appeared to be fresh on his mind enough to where he decided, okay, we're going to talk about this right now. I don't know how much he dialed down how other people are feeling about it. So, all this to say, I hope we all still have grace and understanding. I just worry that it's going to end up being a self-inflicted wound in one way or another, because there are just some things in there that I feel like people are going to hear and feel, whether it's a Christian like me. I mean, he's a Christian. Obviously, you know, he spoke the name of Jesus, name of Yeshua, but also said something that is very unchristian. You know, he's talking about an anti-Semitic tweet and refrains from mentioning Jewish people in the whole list of people he, doesn't hate. Again, I want to clarify. I think everything he's saying is exactly how he feels when he says, I don't hate anybody. I've just got love for everybody. I do believe that to be the case. I just wonder how other people are reacting. I would say, let me know. I don't read the comments on here on any of these things anymore. There's too much. Every time I go, for a while I was pleasantly surprised. For a while it was like, okay. You know, people are asking me questions. People are being nice, and then a couple bad apples ruin it for everybody. Now I just don't go. So I don't know how it's going to be received. I don't know if this wasn't a self-inflicted wound to some degree. He did stop himself, which is good. When it felt like he was going to go too far, he stopped and looked at the SID and recognized, okay, maybe I should not continue talking down this path. And I think it's good that he speaks what's on his heart. I think it's good that he loves people. I think it's good that he wants to help people. I just hope that it's not going to draw more ire towards him. And I don't know the answer whether it will or not. I feel like I just said a whole bunch of nothing. But that's my reaction to that. Let's get into the other stuff that he had to say and a couple quick things from a couple of the other players here in just a moment. I really hate talking about controversial things because I feel like just by talking about the controversial things that I have somehow embroiled myself in controversy, and I will be the one issuing a statement on Saturday for it. That said, Saturday I will be live from Canada. There will be a Saturday episode. No, this isn't just one of my typical he says it's going to be and it's not, because we have a special guest on Saturday. The Wolverine.com's Chris Ballas will be joining me for a Saturday episode, and because we'll be up visiting our Canadian friends in our invasion of Canada. We will bring it back to the United States and claim it, and it's going to be a good thing, and we'll I hope they treat us as liberators, because that's what we are. So let's talk about what Donovan also had to say about a couple different things that I think are interesting. Number one, he's not ruling out this being his final year, because he was asked, like, hey, you've been open about this is your last year at Michigan. And, again, he invoked God's name. I appreciate him for that. And he said, it's God's plan, whatever it is, not mine. So, if he wants me to go to the NFL, I will. If there's something else, if he has a plan for me to stay and continue on here for another year, then that's what I'm going to do. So, I haven't talked to JJ. We haven't asked JJ or anything like, hey, is this the plan? Is this the last year? Could you come back for a fourth year? We haven't discussed that with him. Whether it's on or off the record in media or outside of media availabilities hasn't been discussed to my knowledge with JJ McCarthy. But Donovan Edwards not necessarily writing himself off for next year, even though if you would have asked me, I don't know, a couple hours ago before we were there, I'd be like, yeah, he's not coming back kind of no matter what, which is, we've seen that with Michigan players, and sometimes it's a good idea and sometimes it's an awful idea. There's certainly been a lot of guys that are like, I'm leaving. I'm in the draft, baby. And then they're sitting at home on the evening of day 3 without a team. There's one player who excused himself from later games in the season to preserve his draft stock in the games that would have helped him the most. And this was years and years ago, but not a great idea. So at least Donovan recognizes, like, I need to focus on this season, and then we'll see. So that's good. Could be a chance for a 2024 JJ McCarthy, Donovan Edwards situation. Could be. Maybe that doesn't mean a lot for 2023 though. So what are the factors that will get them to stay or go? We won't know until the season plays out. Donovan Edwards trying to add the Blake Corum shuffle, as he put it. Add a little to it when asked about it. That's what he feels that he needs to add. I think if he does that, he'd be unstoppable. If he could find a way to, like, hey, I need to if I can turn 1 yard into 3 and 3 into 5 and all of that, and like he's talked about, like, I just need to make that safety miss and then it'll be a touchdown every time. I mean, I think given his repertoire, he would be unstoppable if he added just that ability to make that extra person miss, because he ran a lot, I feel, last year in the same way that we saw Blake Corum run in 2021. Not the same skill sets at all. Like, not the same player. But he looks at Blake Corum and saw what he did going from 21 to 22, and then he's like, I want that for myself, and that's what he's been working on. So that is really interesting. So let's get to the other important things, and before we head over to invade Canada. Trevor Keegan asked him about the weight change. Why, hey, you lost a bunch of weight, now you gained a bunch of weight. And he's like, okay, number one, part of it's good weight. This was the plan. He's like, I felt way more agile and everything last year, but this year or 2 years ago, no, last year. But he's like, going up against some of the bigger linemen, he didn't feel like he had the same kind of, he wanted to be able to displace them a little bit better than he did last year. So felt like adding 20 pounds was a good idea. Says he's still eating those salads, but with extra croutons and dressing. Which makes me think that maybe that's my problem. I'm eating salads, but I'm also adding extra croutons and dressing. So hence, I'm up 20 years from this time last year. That makes sense. Anyway, so it'll be interesting to see, does he still have that agility, right? Because that's been kind of the thing. Build you back down, build you back up. Everyone just keeps on crediting Ben Herbert for the job he's done, and he has done a fantastic job in the last couple of years in particular. John Wick, as we talked about on Thursday's show. The other part, Roman Wilson. If you watch or listen to this show, I brought up week 5 for Roman Wilson constantly, because that's been the bad week. He just kind of laughed. As soon as I said week 5, he just laughed. He was like, yeah. And he's just like, yeah, it's just been unlucky, and I'm doing everything to stay healthy, and that's important. But he does feel like he has another gear that we haven't seen yet. It's like, yeah, nothing you can do about, being sick, about breaking bones, all of these different things that have happened to him. He's like, I'm doing everything to safeguard. And, he feels like, hey, I can be the go-to for JJ if that's what JJ wants. I could be that number one receiver if that's what the team needs. I'm working on being a vocal leader, which is not comfortable for me, but that's what I'm doing. And, it really does feel like Roman Wilson season right now. That's how I feel about it. Lastly, asked him about Hawaii, about, the wildfires that are going on in his home state, different island that's being ravaged. Maui's what's being ravaged. He's from Honolulu on Oahu. But he's like, yeah, people I know, they're losing literally everything. And he's like, I get out of practice and it's just, you just hit with it. It's like, this is what's happening back home. And he's like, I really won't probably believe it till I get back home and see it myself. But, at least people are coming up and being like, what can we do? What can I do to help? What can I do to make this right for the people So it's definitely playing with a heavy heart, right? Because it would be difficult, It would be difficult knowing, people and love are going through what is happening. So, yeah, that's that. All right, so we are going to end this potentially controversial episode now, and I'm going to go invade Canada, which is the least controversial thing I think I've said all day. So, all right, we'll talk to you on Saturday, live from Canada. Well, it'll be the United States. It'll be live from the United States. Just it's what formerly known as Canada with Chris Ballas from the Wolverine, and maybe we'll see if we can get the Canadians on as well. And so, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you again soon. Peace.